Hey, good morning, everybody. Coming to you from Zoom, like everybody else right now. And I just wanted to take an opportunity to do some Zoom calls. And this one, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about fear, because I know right now we are all going through a really unprecedented time, lots of anxiety, lots of fear, and that's normal. I mean, we should be feeling that. If we weren't, it'd be kind of strange. But anyway, I wanted to introduce you to someone who has been through his fair share of life challenging obstacles and fear. And I thought it'd be really good to hear from him, and we can just talk a little about that and how we can keep that under control. Like I said, I mean, we're going to naturally have it, but learning how to be in charge of it or control it is really, really important for our well-being, our health, our stress levels, all of it. Anyway, I wanted to bring on Michael Bayouth, who happens to he's a really wonderful person, a creative. He's a filmmaker, he's an artist, he's a storyboard artist for motion pictures. He's a lot of things. He's the yang to my yin. He is the extrovert to my introvert. He is my husband. And I'd like to introduce you to him right now. I'm going to bring him on, Michael Bayouth. Hello, Michael Bayouth.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Very good, very good.
Good. I wanted to talk to you because you're one of the people that I personally know that's been through so many challenges, and you've gotten through them by learning different ways and thought processes to handle anxiety and fear around all that. So could you just tell the people a little bit about what happened to you about 4 years ago with your first bout of cancer?
Well, I was running out of health insurance, and I had been very healthy, and so I thought, well, I might as well go get a checkup just because I've paid for it. I might as well get a physical or a checkup, and that was what prompted the visit to the doctor, which they found a big mass in my chest, and one thing led to another. It was cancerous, and I had to have open chest surgery, and my whole life spiraled. And I did, when your mortality is tossed in front of you, everything everything has a new perspective. Everything takes a back seat. All the minuscule problems of life, they all take a back seat. And all the stuff that's really important takes a front seat. And fear is one of those things that is right there in your face. Your own mortality and the fear of dying takes pretty much control of your life. And so fear was something that had to be managed almost like the cancer. The doctors were doing all that management on the cancer side with the chemo and the radiation. And, I was trying to manage. I didn't do a very good job. You were there in the front row the whole time, and obviously you saw that train wreck happening. But you kind of, I mean, I went through 2 bouts of cancer. You kind of have to go through that derailment and that whole thing where you spiral and crash and burn and forget to be, sympathetic of yourself and to be, um, compassionate to yourself. You totally, the last thing you think of. And so I was spiraling, and when I did crash and I did hit rock bottom, I realized that was it. I needed to start feeling compassion for myself and start to manage my fear and have the same consciousness I have about setting positive intentions in my everyday life, kind of have that consciousness around circling around fear as well, if I can. Didn't succeed, all the time, as you can attest. A lot of derailments and a lot of getting up and getting back on track again and keeping it at bay or adjusting your sails. But fear was a major part of just having that momentary consciousness where you start to freak out, you start to panic, and then you catch yourself and you go, wait a second, nope, that's not that's not really happening. It's happening up here, but it's not really happening to me. And so
Well,
that was huge.
yeah. So fear, most of you that are going to hear this have heard me talk about Martha Beck's the caterpillar analogy, and stage one is when everything in your life just falls apart, everything, and you kind of turn to, I think she calls it goop soup, because it's just everything you've known is totally gone. And so fear is natural because you're losing everything, and we don't like losing things. So that fear is natural, and it's to protect us, but if we dwell in it, if we swim in it, it can be really paralyzing and devastating. So the fear you were feeling is normal, natural. I mean, you should have been scared to death,
Okay.
literally. But then somehow you had to kind of rise above that to stay afloat, right?
Right, right.
And how did you manage to do that in such a, scary
Well,
time?
there's not a lot one can do when you have cancer and you don't know if you're going to live through it, or if it's going to take you, if you're going to succumb to it. You don't know. So there's a lot of question marks, and it's just volatility in your whole life. So I figured, if there was anything I could do on my side, meditation, or visualization, or anything on my end, I wanted to do that, and I thought it would probably help me have confidence that I was doing everything I could, and that I was living in a positive state of mind rather than a real negative state of mind. Because the negative state of mind can really work against you in a physical way. I'm not just talking in a mental way, but it can work against you in a physical way as well, which I needed every bit of help I could get. So I started doing visualizations in the shower, and just, my being a filmmaker and a storyboard artist, a lot of creativity goes into that, and a lot of imagination goes into that. And this form of visualization was kind of about being able to visualize whatever you're doing, in your visualization, visualize the cancer being eradicated. In whatever creative fashion your creative mind can come up with. My mind, the shower was literally going through my skin and into the interior of my body and eradicating the cancer.
Cleaning you out, cleaning you out, cleaning you out.
Cleaning me out, exactly, like washing me clean inside. And I went through 2 weeks every day after my shower and shampoo and soap and shampoo. I would do this visualization with my eyes closed and the water just pouring down on my head, but it was going through my body and eradicating the cancer. And then I did that every day for 2 weeks. And this was leading up to my surgery. And then I started imagining the water was a different color. The first color was like a blue. I just imagined it being blue, this eradication liquid. And then after the 2 weeks, I imagined it being green, like this elixir that was like healing all the raw areas that it had been eradicated from. And I'm really going into detail about my movie that I was making in my mind. The more detail that I added to the movie, the more effective and the more cathartic the whole treatment felt after the shower. I was just like, whoa, something just happened. And as you may remember, it led up to about almost three and a half weeks into it. I was in the shower and I was wondering, I was doing the visualization and I was wondering if the healing water was getting to all the parts that weren't, in direct line with the shower head. So I went down in my mind's eye and actually looked down into my cavity and looked up, and this is the craziest thing. This is my movie that I'm imagining in my head, right? All of a sudden, I see people in my peripheral vision, like a dozen people over here, like going like this, trying to
I
get my
shouldn't have let all those people in the bathroom.
well, yeah, I know that was really shifty of you. No, it was like, what? Who are these people? And they actually were going like, tell them we can't get the water. We need the healing water over here. And it was like the cancer was reaching out to me saying, we need your healing stuff over here as well. And I turned around in my mind's eye, I had my eyes closed, and I could see like a stadium worth of people, all like Dust Bowl farmers, all looking for a cloud, a cloud burst, during drought, and just like holding their hands up. I'll never forget it. I just reached up and I grabbed the shower head and I moved it and I backed up a little, and it was crazy. I just heard a roar, a cheer. Like all these people were they were holding so much love for me, and it chokes me up to recall it, because it was just it wasn't my movie. It was somebody else had taken over the camera, and somebody else was now the director. So
Hey, this is
I got out of the
this
shower.
is
You
getting a
remember?
little woo-woo over here.
I know it was very Twilight Zone, but it definitely was beyond a health thing. There was something beyond health
So
that was happening here, and I tapped into something, and I still don't know really what it was, but it took the fear aspect away, because I was really doing something proactive that felt like it was really taking me to a different place, and I was hoping it was being effective in
So
the
I think
internal
that's the key
treatment.
word right there, is when you just said proactive, like what can you do? So in your situation, that's a personal situation. This is a global
Yes.
thing people are going through. So what can people do proactively to, ease the fear? No one's going to get rid of fear. There's going to be a little fear,
Right.
but to help ease it, besides, there's meditation, there's visualizations, like you just said. There's practicing gratitude, which it's hard to feel gratitude when you're going through a hard time. But that's where you're like, kind of like that visualization. You have to reach in deep and find something, whether it's your favorite ginger tea, or the opportunity to sleep in, or whatever those simple things can be. You really have to notice those right now and really pay attention. And I just want to say one story, and then I want to ask you something, Michael. But there's been studies done, and there was a study done back in, I think it was like 2009, by this group of doctors in Maryland. And they had taken a group of people, and they taught them just a really simple melody on the piano. They taught the whole group. And then they split the group up, and they had one group go and practice like a couple hours a day for a week. And the other group, they took over here, and they didn't have to practice. They just had to sit at the piano for that same amount of time and imagine themselves playing. So it's a visualization, like you just did, just visualized it. So during the whole study, they were mapping the brain activity of all the participants, and then during it and then after. And the results were really surprising, because they found that the same exact brain changes were happening in both groups,
Really.
whether they were playing or whether they weren't. So what that meant was that the brain of the people that only imagined playing the piano changed in the same way as if they really were playing the piano. And so what that means for all of us is that our brains don't know the difference between imagination and reality. And that means we have a choice. And if we're fearful or anxious or worried, we can choose, like, okay, I'm going to be courageous, I'm going to be brave,
Mhm.
I'm going to face this, I'm going to do my best. Or I can be terrified, because our
That's
brain,
right.
we imagine. So what, just, I don't want to go on too long, because I know people don't listen very long to these types of things, unless, but what would be your advice, or your insights, or your wisdom that you could share right now with people, to make this a little easier this time to
Well,
get through?
your story that you just told really is indicative for me of also intention setting, and how intentions can, they literally can, manifest things into existence, like those people in that test that you were talking about with the piano, uh, with the music. They were imagining themselves doing it, and there was actually evidence, brainwave evidence, that they were going through the same similar thing as the actual people that were playing the piano, right?
Right.
So their intentions in their mind that they were setting was really just as powerful as the people that were actually playing the music. Those intentions actually, they showed up in the actual data.
Yeah.
And so what I would say is, bringing it back to your question you posed to me, is that when we're sitting around and we're self-distancing and we're getting all of this media in our faces, and we're surrounded by fear and surrounded by unknowns. The intentions that we set, whether it be fear or whether it be a relaxed state of mind where you, like you said, you're enjoying your nice cup of tea, or you're enjoying that,
Not more.
you're enjoying that routine thing that you really love doing. If it's just like baking that type of pie that you just love, then then that's the thing that you need to be focusing on. And just know that if your intentions are to really get a lot of information and a lot of news and a lot of social media, you're going to be getting a lot of fear, and that's what you're going to be manifesting more of. Simple as that. So manifest the things that you want into your life right now while you're spending so much time with yourselves, because it is going to become your reality. What you think becomes your world. And
Your thoughts. Yeah, definitely your thoughts create.
right.
Yeah, and I just want to remind people too that when we're in a stressed state, our immune system goes just like that.
Right.
And right now we need our immune systems as strong as possible.
Right.
And by relieving some of that stress or that anxiety, that worry, that can help keep us a little bit, healthier. So setting intentions, visualizations, visualizing a world you want to see, or visualizing, all the things that are going to happen as soon as you get released from this prison, like hugging your kids or your family or friends or whatever, going out for a cocktail. Yeah. Dinner, whatever, visualizing those things happening,
Right.
practicing gratitude. What else? Finding
meditation. Deepak Chopra talks about the great Sikhs who were meditating. They were bringing peace to the world by meditating. He says, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm bringing peace to this war. I'm bringing an end to the war." By meditating, what are you talking about? By meditating, it's an amazing area of power, self-power, meditation. You could literally meditate and help end this virus and be one of the collective minds that are so powerful.
Well, I want to interrupt you there.
Yes.
That's first of all, what else happens when we're in a really high state of stress and anxiety? When we're in that fight or flight situation, our brain, if we get into fight or flight and we stay there, which is what's happening, our cortisol levels spike up, we stay in a stressful state, we
Yes.
also become selfish. We also become less empathetic or sympathetic because we're so focused on our own fear that we don't, so what you're saying is, kind of a collective thing. And we can't do that if we're in a state of fight or flight.
So true.
Anyway, yeah, it's a tough time. But it's really, I hate to say this because I sound like, but I'm seeing so many blessings. I look outside of my little bubble, and selfishly so, like I said, I haven't had to face any real damage yet. But I was telling Michael this morning, I, read about how all the turtles, the endangered species of turtles, are now on the beaches laying their eggs, which they usually don't have the opportunity to because there's too much human destruction. And there's so much happening in nature that's really awesome and beautiful. And I'm just hoping that when this is over, we continue to be more conscious and aware, and we don't just run back to our old normal, because sometimes that's what happens after, Anyway, Michael, any last words of wisdom that you'd like to share, or a joke, or anything to make people? How about a Christopher Walken impersonation? Really good at that.
Wow, you got me in a vendetta kind of mood. Wow. No, the only last thing I want to leave you with is one of my favorite things from Wayne Dyer. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Yeah.
It helps in so many situations. That's it.
And so you would look at it in a more positive light, or the benefits,
You get up in the morning, create your day in your mind. When you're taking a shower, create your day. What are you going to do? It's all the positive, fun things you're going to do.
Yeah. And there's definitely a rose and a thorn.
What's that?
There's definitely a rose and a thorn.
Yes.
To everything. You know,
Yes.
the yin yang, there's the polar opposites. So for every negative that happens, there usually is a positive. And if you can stay focused on what those mean to you personally, or to the planet, or to the, everybody, more power to you.
That's
So
right.
anyway, I just want to send my love to everybody, a big virtual hug, like everybody's doing, which is kind of corny to me. But anyway, Michael,
Thanks
what
for having me on your show.
well, you're very welcome. And it was just wonderful having you. Appreciate it. I could plug your books, I could plug your stuff, but I'm not going to, because
Don't
just right
bother.
now, I just wanted to talk to you about fear and how you
It
deal with
was, it was an
it.
honor, really. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'll see you upstairs. Bye.
Bye.